6. Silent habits that reveal a dangerously high IQ. There's a man I worked beside for years. Call him Desmond. Quiet, watchful. In every meeting, he spoke last if he spoke at all. People mistook it for having nothing to say. They had it backwards. Before I tell you what Desmond was doing in all that silence, I have to name the one thing 6 quiet habits have in common, because the psychology of quiet men hides a rare kind of intelligence. Desmond edited other people's writing for a living. 40 years of it. He'd read a page while the rest of us were still clearing our throats. Then he'd go still, not frozen working. You could almost watch him turn the thing over behind his eyes. And when he finally spoke, the room went quiet. Because he'd already said the obvious thing to himself and stepped past it. I remember one meeting where a younger man talked for 10 minutes straight. Desmond said nothing. At the end, he asked a single question. The whole plan rearranged itself around it. His colleagues called him aloof. That silence cost him, socially, for decades. But when something actually mattered, every one of them came to Desmond first. Some details have been changed for privacy. Desmond is drawn from patterns I've observed across many men I've known. Here's the part nobody told you. In 1921, Carl Jung gave the words introvert and extrovert their modern psychological meaning. And what he meant was simpler and stranger than the version you've heard. He said introversion is just the direction your energy runs inward, toward the inner world, before it ever turns outward. Not shyness, not a defect. Jung was careful to separate it from any notion of deficiency. So the first silent habit is the plainest one. He watches more than he speaks. Susan Cain, who spent years studying this, makes the point bluntly. The best talker in the room is rarely the one with the best ideas. Desmond knew that in his body. He wasn't gathering the nerve to speak. He was deciding whether speaking added anything at all. If that first one landed, tap the like. It tells the algorithm to put this in front of the next quiet man who needs it. If you've stayed with me this far, you already know which kind of man you are, the one who reads the whole room before he says a word, and usually says none of it. That's exactly who I make these for. Subscribe, and the next one finds you next week. Now here's the habit almost no one names out loud. The second habit. He pauses before he answers. Not for effect. He's doing something real inside that pause, and we can watch it on a brain scan. Try it with me. Notice your jaw right now. Most men carry the whole day there. Let it go slack for a second. Now the next time something hits you, before you react, name the feeling in one word. Just one. Frustrated. Tired. Stung. Here's why that works. In 2007, a UCLA team led by Matthew Lieberman scanned people looking at angry and fearful faces. The instant they put the feeling into a word, the amygdala, the brain's alarm, went quieter, and a region behind the forehead came online. Lieberman described it like braking at a yellow light. Putting a feeling into words taps the brake before the reaction runs. Desmond's pause was never hesitation. It was him braking before the rest of the room had even seen the light. Third habit, and this is the one the world punishes him for. He says, "I don't know," out loud. In a room full of people competing to sound certain, you were taught that's weakness. That the strong man always has the answer ready. Society sold you certainty as strength. It had it exactly backwards. The psychologist Mark Leary, at Duke, studied this directly. He calls it intellectual humility. The willingness to admit your own view might be wrong. And a 2019 study found that this trait tracks with higher intelligence and greater mental flexibility, not less. Let that land. The man brave enough to say "I'm not sure yet" isn't behind the room. He's the only one still actually thinking. Sit with that for a second. Certainty is loud. Understanding is usually quiet. Fourth, he runs the scenario forward. He replays the conversation. He rehearses the one that hasn't happened yet. People call it overthinking. They were wrong about that, too. A team led by Alexander Penny found something quiet men have always half known: a tendency to turn things over in the mind, tracked with higher verbal intelligence. Your mind isn't stuck. It's running simulations the room can't see. Now let me be honest about the line here. Turning a problem over to understand it is reflection. Turning it over with no way out is just suffering, and nothing in this video is a diagnosis. If the loop never lets you go, a good therapist is worth more than any rehearsal. But for most quiet men, that rehearsal is the gift. It's why you saw the problem 3 moves before anyone else did. Fifth habit, and yes, this one looks slightly unhinged from the outside. He talks to himself. I knew a carpenter once. Call him Silas. He narrated every cut under his breath. Measure twice. Steady. There. His teenage son was mortified, begged him to stop doing it in front of friends. The whole workshop was convinced the old man had finally lost it. He hadn't. In 2012, researchers found that saying a thing out loud, even a single word, helped people find what they were looking for faster than staying silent. Silas wasn't talking to himself. He was thinking with the volume turned up. That muttering genius in the corner cliché? Sometimes it isn't a breakdown. It's just a man using every tool he's got and not caring how it looks. Sixth, and the one that matters most. He keeps a circle of 2, not 20. I have to be careful with you here, because the quiet man's gift can curdle into a trap. Going inward is recovery, disappearing is not. Research by Matthias Mell found the people who reported the deepest well-being weren't the ones talking the most. They were the ones trading small talk for fewer, deeper conversations. So here's the honest version. You don't need the whole room. You need your 2 people. Find them. Call them. The depth that gets you misread by strangers is the exact thing that makes you irreplaceable to the few who stay. 3 things to try this week. Pick one. 1. The one-word break. Next time something hits, name the feeling in a single word before you respond. You're not venting. You're tapping Lieberman's yellow light. 2. Say, I don't know yet on purpose. Once, out loud, to someone. Watch what it does to the conversation, and to you. 3. The 2-person audit. Name the 2 people you'd call at 2 a.m. If you haven't reached either of them this month, that's the habit to start with. So let me say the thing Desmond's silence took me years to understand. For most of your life, you've been told there's something a little off in the way your mind works, that you're too quiet, too far inside your own head, too slow to speak. There isn't. The silence isn't emptiness, it's bandwidth. The pause isn't fear, it's the break. The inward turn isn't a flaw to fix. It's a rare kind of intelligence the loud world keeps mistaking for absence. And if any part of this felt like it was written about you, it was. Subscribe, and the next one's already waiting. Then do one thing for me. In the comments, type the number 1 through 6 of the habit you already do without thinking. I read every single one. That's where I learn the most. On the screen now, 2 videos that go deeper into what we talked about tonight. Pick whichever speaks to you. I'll see you in the next one.